Hey everybody, it's HBCU Game Day. What's going on? I'm Tolly in Atlanta. It's been a few weeks, so let's check in now with my brother because we have ourselves a little show that we put together. We got to be more consistent with doing it. We created the Tolly and Neely show, and we just got to do it when we want to. Today is one of those days where we just kind of want to do it. Neely joining us now from Boulder, Colorado. He's keeping up with the latest with Deion Sanders. Of course, you know the backstory. Former Jackson State coach is hired at Colorado. And Neely, right now, when you talk about the top 5 names in the Power 5 college football, I mean, Deion Sanders is clearly one of the top 5 coaches when you talk about buzz, popularity, expectations, all of that. He's immediately right there, right?
Oh, he's instantly in the top 5. I would dare say he's number 1. In fact, his use of the transfer portal this past signing period did get ranked as number 1 in the nation. So he is off and running here, and lots of excitement and lots of buzz. And of course, everybody wants to know what's going on in Colorado with Colorado football and Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, as he's affectionately called.
All right, so we want to keep the people up to date on what's going on for those people who are interested, and even those people who say they don't even want to know. They don't care. Why are you talking about that? Well, thank you for watching anyway. We appreciate you all just the same. Neely, what is the latest? Where are we in the college football calendar of events for where things get ready to go down between now and August?
Well, we are in this period that is after signing day. So we're past the National Signing Day. And as far as what athletes that are in school can be doing, they got about, 8 hours or so that they can spend working out in their program. And so they're going through their strength and conditioning phase. And this is taking place at every level of college football, NCAA wide. So right here in Colorado, Coach Mo Sims, who was at the University of Georgia, came to Jackson State, followed Coach Prime out here to Colorado. He's pretty much in charge of what's going on every day with the players here doing that strength and conditioning phase of spring training. Here in Colorado, the first practice will kick off March 19th with the spring game taking place in the end of April. So you're in that, let's get in shape so we can start practicing and getting ready for football. You know, Tolly, we live in a world now where college football is just about a year-round sport. You know, you're playing bowl games into January. You're playing those invitation bowl games into February. HBCU Legacy Bowl is coming up this weekend. So March, you're right back at it with strength and conditioning. April, spring practice. Got a off period in May, but when you get back June 1st, it's June 1st to February all over again.
Tell me about Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, 2 kids that we'll always have affection and affinity for. What's up with them? How are they progressing? I imagine you talked to them since some of your trips to Boulder, and you visit Boulder. You don't live there. People might think, Neely just moved to Boulder. He's collecting the frequent flyer miles, folks. But how are our guys doing?
They're doing good, man. They're Justin Wells. Spent time with both of them today when they were going through strength and conditioning. Talked to them some this afternoon as well. They got smiles on their faces. Sometimes walking around with a little soreness because most Sims don't play with that strength and conditioning program, but they're adjusting well. Also, you got Tyler Brown, offensive lineman who came from Jackson State. Several other players who are here. Alejandro Mata, the kicker, is here from Jackson State. And you can't forget the coaches, man, in that transition. I sat in on an offensive staff meeting, Tolly, and I looked around the room and I counted heads. There were 11 coaches in the room on the offensive side of the ball in Colorado. 7 of the 11 came from Jackson State University. And so we just have to appreciate the HBCU connection that's taking place here in Colorado. So for the people who are tired of talking about it, but continue to tune in, God bless you too. But this is a unique story, history in the making, that has never happened before in college football. And I think it's something spectacular to be a part of and be able to show the world what's taking place here that started in Jackson, Mississippi at Jackson State at the HBCU.
I was watching Coach Prime was making his media rounds with the yogurt. What's the name of the company, Neely? The
Boyko.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of Greek yogurt. My mind is not what it used to be, Neely. Sometimes it's back there, man. I can't get it up here. But he was doing a lot of interviews, and everything I read it with purpose. At least once or twice. Jackson State was mentioned in every article. It's still part of his coaching DNA, and it will probably be that way, at least, from the public, general public's view, until he gets through this first complete season at Colorado.
And I think it's going to go beyond that. You can't talk about what's happening here and not talk about what happened at Jackson State. You can't talk about, potentially winning the Pac-12 and not talk about the 2 back-to-back conference championships in the SWAC at Jackson State. And no matter where he goes in his career, what if he becomes coach of the year on the national level again? All of these things, were based off and built off of Jackson State. And when he's making his media rounds, he doesn't shy away from. He wouldn't be where he is right now if not for the experiences and what he was able to accomplish, not at Jackson State, but with Jackson State. He doesn't run from it.
You had a piece of content up this week at the Pregame Show. If for some reason you are not subscribed to the Pregame Show yet, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Get on over there, click like and subscribe. The Pregame Show. Neely, you had some content with 2 athletic trainers who were from Jackson State. Coach Prime gave them an opportunity to follow him. He kind of reached back. They accepted the invitation. They talked to you. Give us a little hint. I want people to go and watch for themselves of what they can hear and see in that video.
Well, you hear 2 young ladies, very positive, very upbeat, who were fearful of the challenge in a respectful way because they knew it was a big move and a big deal, but they were also just proud of their work ethic and what they accomplished at Jackson State. And Coach Prime saw something in them that he wanted them to include them on this part of his journey. So they accepted. They're now enrolled in Colorado. One is from Macomb, Mississippi, and she talks, very passionately about coming from Macomb, being at Jackson State, and being in Colorado, and some of the unique challenges that is brought, but also some of the success stories from it. I think it's a beautiful story to hear from these 2 people. No one's putting words in their mouth. This is them just talking to the camera, with questions for me about what their experience has been like and what they've gained from it. So I would encourage everybody to go watch it because this process of a HBCU coach coming to a Power 5 school has not just stopped with student athletes, players coming from Jackson State. There's a great deal of support staff that has been coming from the HBCU ranks to work at this university at the Power 5 as well. And Asia and Darshina have a wonderful story that they share. And even in the comments, some people say they were brought to tears and others motivated with joy. And, of course, you get the hater. We know those are comments out there, too. But I would encourage everybody to go look at it, man, because it is very compelling what they've gone through in their journey to get here and what they're learning and experiencing here in the Power 5 athletic program.
And I can attest, I've watched it, and the interview gets better as it goes along because they get more real as the interview goes along. And they break it down how they keep the players in check. You might see these 2 young ladies who might be small in stature, but they don't play the radio at all. So do not come for them.
And, that's one of the things, Tolly, we talked to them about, but also recently talked to Tyler Brown, offensive lineman from Jackson State. Having these coaches, having these student athletes on the support staff, having these student athletes on the player side of it come from Jackson State and their experience working with Coach Prime, they're able to tell the new people here who were at Colorado before they got here and, the recruits coming in, hey, this is how it is when you're with Coach Prime. Don't do that. Do this. He's going to see you do that. He's going to notice this. He will run you off of that. He will promote you for this. So I think it's very wise of Coach Prime to include folks who know how to help him run his program so he's not just starting completely from the bottom and trying to orientate people to his process. He's brought a lot of folks here with him that are already familiar with it, and they're teaching it to the other folks.
One thing that was unique, when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State, he said a lot of things, and we understood what he was saying, even if he did not provide the context. It was almost like having a barbershop conversation. Like we knew what the deal was. Some of his quotes now have been taken literally picked apart word for word. People are finding offense with this or that, and that happens whenever you're appealing to a larger swath of people in America. Neely, I know he doesn't care at all about the criticism, but it is quite unique when you see that message change to a larger platform as far as volume, and some of the response you get back from some of the things that I find entertaining, and I understand what he's saying, but other people maybe not always so much.
I love your political correctness in that, Tolly. You know,
My
that was just,
brain, you see my brain when I'm talking. Like,
that was man, that was spot on. Because what you're essentially saying is, hey, you can say some stuff to black folks, and black folks don't get offended. But if you say it to everybody and white folks hear it, then black folks get offended because everybody heard it.
let's just rename it the Neely and Tolly Show. Put your name first, since you're going to keep it
No,
real. Since I'm
no,
going to play politically correct, it's your show. Go ahead, it's your show.
we already flipped the coin, and you won the coin toss. So it's the Tolly and Neely show. So you got it.
I try.
You do the politically correct part, and I try to clean it up for the barbershop. But Tolly, some of the comments that Coach Prime has made, and let me go back to what you said. You're going to get it unfiltered from him. He's going to tell you what he's thinking, how he's thinking it. It's not that he doesn't make mistakes. It's not that he maybe one day wishes he didn't say something differently or would have worded it this way or that kind of thing. But he is sincere in his wording, and he knows what he's saying. And, some folks are up in arms about what he says he looks for in family structure for certain players and their personalities. I can't tell you how many times at Jackson State he said that on the pregame show. At least 3 times, because we went through 3 recruiting seasons. And he always mentioned that kind of thing as far as what he looks for in toughness and what he looks for in the cerebral part of things. But he got out here to Colorado and said it, and folks got mad, even though they've been hearing it for almost 3 years now.
Yeah, he's like a Baptist preacher in many ways, where you hear the message and you're like, all right, I heard that one. He's got that line. He connects it. So it's nothing new to us.
No.
But you get a new audience, and the first time around, sometimes it gets a little different reception. But that's the way of the world. The party moves on. Since we're keeping it real, Neely, let's just get into it, man. The most entertaining thing is reading the comments on anything that you post, and you have addressed. Some people are like, "Hey, Neely, I heard they don't let you come around Jackson State anymore," and I don't know if they do their neck and head like that when they say that. But you kind of said like, hey, there's a lot of people that I'll say this. There's not widespread access currently like there was before, and that's not by mistake, shall we say?
Well, I'm in no position to speak for Jackson State. I can speak for myself and my experiences. And one of the things I want to go ahead and address it on our platform is so many people were saying, hey, we want some Jackson State content. Oh, man, you're no longer covering Jackson State like you used to. And they were phrasing the narrative as if that were a Neely decision. So let me be clear in this. Neely is a Jackson State grad. Neely's parents are Jackson State's grad. My children went to Jackson State. My entire family went to Jackson State. My grandmother was the dorm mother for the football dorm in the 40s and 50s. My mother was director of public information in the 80s and 90s. You don't get more Jack State than I am. And that will never change, my love for Jackson State. So I would love to share what we've built on this platform, Jackson State content, and so the world can see it. But having said that, the powers that be at Jackson State are not as open as they were during the Coach Prime administration. And it's not a T.C. Taylor thing. Don't think it's the Ashley Robinson thing. I've talked to him. I think it's an administration thing from the top that they're not as open as they used to be during that Coach Prime part of it. So it's not that the pregame show when we're in Jackson doesn't want to interview Coach T.C. Taylor and bring you that kind of content. It's that kind of content right now doesn't exist. I hope that changes, whether it is access to us, access to all, or access to anybody, because the world we live in with the power of social media and its ability to decrease the need for recruitment dollars, because now you can recruit year round 24/7 via social media platforms. So you have to open your programs up, especially those programs with tight budgets. So I hope that'll change, but just hear from me, Tolly. It ain't a Neely thing. The pregame show was born and bred and made at Jackson State. And we would love to show that kind of content. But right now, that kind of content isn't available. I hope that changes for Jackson State, because that is my dear old college home. And I want them to prosper and be as great as they can possibly be.
A couple of things here. Let me piggyback on what you said. Number one, I don't think you said this, but you also dropped dollars at Jackson State. I know you don't like to brag.
Well,
about that, but you
I don't want to lead with that, but yes, I am not just a season ticket holder personally. Although I can get in games free with media credentials, I also am an annual donor to Jackson State, quarterly as well. I bumped into Dr. Norwood, the JSU alumni national president, past president. I was at the most recent Jackson State Alcorn game at Jackson last week. She said, "Oh, good to see you. Glad you're here," because she knows I'm going to help her do what other fundraising needs wherever I am in the world, whether I'm sitting in Boulder or sitting in Jackson or Timbuktu. I'm going to raise money for Jackson State. And I would hope, Tommy, that the growth of this platform, the pregame show, that the powers that be at Jackson State will recognize. If you had a value with 6,000 viewers, how do you not have a value with 60,000 viewers, soon to be 600,000 viewers? We've had pieces of content out there that have literally gotten 1 million views. And if we don't understand how we can use that for our own growth and benefit, particularly when it's time for things like the National Day of Giving or other fundraising campaigns, I hope that those doors that have been closed since the exit of Coach Prime open back up and Jackson State begins to share that story with the world, because that leads to growth, whether it's an enrollment, donation, sponsorship, or just general support. And you as an HBCU with struggling budgets, this is not the time to turn off access to the outside world. It's the time to turn it up.
One more thing. People, I got two more things to say. People in the comments, they're like, "Why you bringing Neely on?" And again, I don't know if they roll their neck when they do that. Why you bringing Neely on? You need to bring on the 1400 Club. And I love those guys. They're great. I love the 1400 Club. I don't know them like I know Neely, so that's why I always bring Neely on. But Neely, I am so disappointed that they jumped right over Chuck and went to the 1400 Club. Like, no one has said, "Why don't you bring Chuck on?" So where's the love for Chuck? I mean, can we get Chuck next in line, a heartbeat away from Neely, in the comment section? What's up there?
Well, as much as I want to go down the jest road and take some digs and make some laughs, I can't help but point out the seriousness of that. You're exactly right. First and foremost, the 1400 Club and all they do for Jackson State is an excellent extension of the university Department of Athletics and getting information out. And we live in a world that you don't have to have one source of information. You really need multiple sources. When the president addresses the nation, it's on every single network in the country. And no one is complaining about, "Hey, man, it's on every damn channel," because they're trying to get the information out. So I wish anybody the best covering Jackson State, and we need more people covering it, not less. But, when you talk about the Chuck thing, and you say it in a jovial manner, but here's the bigger picture. There does appear to be some concerted effort that if Deion Sanders used to do it, we ain't doing it that way. I don't know why that's the case. I haven't heard that from somebody. This is just my eyeball test looking around at changes that take place. It just seems to be that, a guy who won 2 back-to-back SWAC championships in an undefeated conference manner, I guess was doing something wrong as it related to access and media attention.
Well, let me say this. Let me provide some context. I love what I do. My mission is to make sure that the coverage and the level of coverage that you have for HBCUs on our platform equals that to what you see for any Power 5 or for any other conference or level of play that's out there. I think our community deserves that. I am not a hater. I probably am a hater. I'm human, but I don't view any competition with other outlets that cover HBCU sports. I want us all to excel because it makes the field that we're in better. Yeah. I don't want to be a mansion and the rest of the neighborhood looks like crack houses. That's going to destroy my property value. I want us all to succeed and do well because it benefits us all.
Tolly, you get it. You absolutely get it. It is that simple. You'll see when you're watching NBC, if you look at the bottom of the screen, sometimes you'll see courtesy of CBS. You can be watching a football game on Fox and it's a highlight up, and you'll see courtesy of ESPN. They understand rising tide lifts all boats. We need to get the content out there. One of the most popular things on television is the ESPN Top 10 on SportsCenter. Do you know how very little of that ESPN actually filmed themselves? but they get the information out. And so sometimes what you have to do is when you're building your platform, you attach yourself to a bigger platform, which only aids to your growth. They used to have these networking sessions back in West Jackson. Hey, let's get together, man, network. And you go in the room and everybody in the room broke. That ain't networking. To network, somebody in the room got to have something. That's how you parlay. You can't get 10 broke people together and say somehow we're going to come up. No, one of them people can't be broke. And it's the same thing in social media. It's the same thing in marketing and retail and strategy. You look at Burger King and Wendy's, they don't spend money on market research. Their market research is simply this: locate as close to McDonald's as you can. Because when that line is long in McDonald's, they're going to come next door to it. We don't have to do all their market research.
Bruh.
Get next to the big dog.
That's me. How you that was me this morning. I made that right to Starbucks. That line was wrapped around. I looked over that Chick-fil-A that was right across the parking lot. and I know y'all don't like Chick-fil-A. I know. Spare me.
It ain't hard.
No. And that was a preamble to what I really wanted to say, which was, we love what we're doing. We're trying to uplift all HBCUs. But folks, don't get it twisted. There is a lot of resistance out there. Not every school, and it saddens me to say this, is living the life where it's like, we want all the exposure. We really want to win in this media game. No, that ain't always the case. But we push through anyway. Neely, I'm not going to name the school, but Saturday, I sent the crew out to shoot a game. A little small school, right? We don't care. It's HBCU. I don't get into the D1, D2, NAIA stuff. My crew gets there. They say, yeah, you cannot bring your camera bag in. You can bring your camera, but all that other valuable stuff you need in the bag, you can't bring in the bag. Okay.
You mean the things that operate the camera?
Off gate. Like how dumb is that? Okay.
Yeah.
We've been emailing the school for weeks just to get a pass. Now, here's one thing I have done. I always respect the school. I never show up and just say, well, I'm just going to walk in because I'm HB. No, I go through the same protocol like I was trying to get into Alabama or Duke or whatever. I show everybody the same level of respect. These people don't, they don't email, they don't call back. So at some point, you just got to show up. So my crew just showed up. So here they are. They're getting harassed at the door, can't bring in all their equipment properly. Were never responded to get the proper credentials. At the end of the game, these folks come up and say, you know what, can we borrow some of that footage? Like, that is more normal than you think, folks. And I tell you that not to complain, not to bash. That's why I'm not naming names. But even through that, we still push through because you at home, the kids on the court deserve the best. But there's a lot of resistance out there.
Yeah, I love that French accent. And I think, Tolly, you're framing that, excellent, my man, because a lot of folks out there in the comments clamor for more content for a particular, branch or something, a school or sport or activity, not understanding that what you're saying is the fight to bring you that content. It ain't that Tolly don't want to go. It ain't that Neely ain't trying. Like, there is literally people who don't want things shown, not understanding that it benefits them that we're showing it. Yeah. But some folks get into pocket watching and player hating, and they actually think that they're hurting you by not allowing something. That hadn't been proven to be the case, Tolly. Growth is exponential.
When we started out, I was very intentional about, and this is not me bragging, this is context. I was very intentional about helping you in any way that I could because you were a super valuable asset. You were the man sitting next to the piccolo player right there in Jackson, Mississippi. So, look, I was like, don't mess this up, right? But Neely, you've like surpassed, like you have more YouTube subscribers than we do, right? Like you've already like kind of shot ahead, right?
Well, I appreciate that recognition, but I also must double back and double down on what you said that you helped, propel that, and what you have done on the website side of things is something we haven't touched. We made the YouTube thing our bread and butter, our wheelhouse, if you will, and so we were able to get that accelerated growth. But again, the example I just gave, rising tide lifts all boats. We, the Pregame Show, attached ourselves in a partnership to something that was bigger than us, HBCU Game Day, as far as on YouTube. And now our YouTube is bigger than that YouTube. Yeah. That's how it works in the economy, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't rocket science. If you want to grow, You have to attach yourself to something that is growing or something that is where you want to be. It's just that simple. But if you block information, block content, don't want that guy to come here, don't want this girl to come here, don't like that, we're going to keep everything in house, you're going to be the same size you were 2 years later. And then the next 2 years, you're going to actually start to erode and lose share in the market. You can't just maintain. Status quo is impossible. You're either decreasing or increasing. There is no remaining the same.
Absolutely. And I'm super happy for you. And that's the final bit of context. I'm not drinking that hater juice at all. Maybe a little bit when I get in the car, but not on the show.
I mean, look at it this way. And I tell my good friend and frat brother, Ashley Robinson, who's the athletic director of Jackson State, all the time this. Pregame Show doesn't exist without him. A lot of people associated with Coach Prime, but we had started right when Coach Prime was being named coach. And it was Ashley Robinson who gave us the access. And it was Coach Prime who saw the work ethic and the integrity and the hustle and the grind and said, hey, I want you guys to cover this exclusively. I'm letting you guys do this. That's how it all came together. We started off covering just JSU sports through Ashley Robinson. I did some stuff with Coach Tamika Reed. She opened her doors. Some other Jackson State coaches did not open theirs. But if you look at the blueprint, the winners open their doors. You can't argue with the success of Ashley Robinson, Tamika Reed, and Deion Sanders. And, it just goes to show you that people who have nothing to hide and want to show their program and recruit are pretty successful at what they do.
All right, let's end there. I'm glad you brought up Coach Reed, one of my favorites. Do you predict, A, another SWAC championship victory, and do you predict, B, like maybe a little upset alert NCAA tournament time? Because, man, that one still hurts last season, Neely, that LSU game.
I predict all the above. I know she, didn't get the undefeated regular season. Everybody rolls out the ball to win. You don't necessarily say, we're going to be undefeated, but you're going out there to win. She has taken one SWAC loss, but is still dominant in all these other games. So I'm expecting them to be dominant in the tournament. Anything can happen in the tournament. I'm expecting that dominance, expecting them to win the regular season SWAC championship, win the SWAC tournament, and also get them a seeding where they have a more than a puncher's chance. Because, they went down to LSU and on paper looked to be an extreme underdog, but that game didn't get away until it got away. It was that game could have been won, should have been won by Jackson State. So I think with what she takes that team through in November and December and what they do in the SWAC through their regular conference schedule, I think it prepares them, to be that 13, 14, 15 seed and upset somebody. I believe she can do it.
All right. I will be on the call for the entire SWAC basketball tournament. Me and Santoria Black from Grambling. Santoria is my guy, and I'm getting his name wrong. Good Lord. I got to get it in gear here, man. But we'll be down in Birmingham with the tournament. You going to come down at all, or what you going to be up to tournament time?
Yeah, I should be that side of the Mississippi River. I'm still back and forth here to Boulder. This is one of the weeks where I call it working offshore. So I'm offshore this week and doing a thing here and grabbing this content and doing some stuff with Coach Prime that we got planned. But I'll be back in Mississippi for that back end, back into February, early part of March. So you might see me over in Birmingham, man, tapping you on the shoulder and taking your headset from you.
Hey, look, I'm going to be working. I'm doing like 25 games in a row. Are you going to take me out to eat, Neely? I don't think you have ever. The guy that helped launch your YouTube and grow. I don't think you've ever fed me, man. Like,
I have not. And I think that we got to do and stick with what works. And because we've had so much growth together without me buying your food, let's go another 2 years without me buying your food and look at it then. Let's keep running the same play till they stop it.
You came to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. I had a whole spread here at the studio. You didn't come by. You were like, I'm going to come. So you didn't come by.
Here's the thing about that topic. And to the folks out there, and let me say this while you mention Atlanta. When I go into my YouTube analytics with the pregame show, you know where the number one city for views are?
Atlanta. It's got to be Atlanta.
It is indeed Atlanta, and it ain't even close. You got some other major cities that pop up like Houston, but man, we have a large fan base in Atlanta watching the pregame show. So shout out to Atlanta. So to all those people, because I know you got a huge Atlanta following, if you're in Atlanta and somebody said, hey, man, come by. When you put in the Uber and see how come by is, like, come on, dog. Like, you ain't around the corner, man. Like,
it goes both ways. When people tell me, hey, I'm going to be in Atlanta, ... I say, enjoy your trip, because I ain't coming to see you wherever you are.
And then, hey, y'all, here's the thing. I'm a big boy. Like Coach Prime said, Neely ain't going to miss no meal. Probably like, yeah, man, we got some chicken wings out. Come on, man, we got a spread. So that's when I really Googled the directions. Like, oh, man. And then everywhere I would see to get there, you get that red line on Google Maps where the traffic is just backed up.
Yeah.
It's like you leave now, you'll be there in an hour and 20 minutes, and it's like 5 miles away. I'm good.
It is what it is, man. One day we'll sit down and break bread together. It has to be. But hey,
Birmingham, when you somewhere between your first and 25th game.
Okay. All right. I can count on you. He's my man. It is the Tolly #1 Neely Show. Thank you so much for hanging out, brother. We'll catch up with you soon, man.
All right, man. Be safe.
Bye, America.